Please welcome to the stage Dr. David Unwin.
Please, I'd like to know which of you have tried a continuous glucose monitor. Would you put your arms up? Great. Absolutely great. So, I'm a great believer in grassroots revolutions, and what's happened around the world is a grassroots revolution. And I think the next wave, the next impetus, is being delivered by continuous glucose monitors. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about what I've been doing and my thoughts to forward this. Conflicts of interest. Well, I should say I'm not an expert on continuous glucose monitors. I'm curious, I'm very interested, but I'm not an expert. A great deal of my experimentation has been with the Freestyle Libre, but they haven't paid me, so I don't know, is that a conflict of interest? But it's mainly based on that. So this is what we're going to cover. Where are we now with type 2 diabetes and NICE and the use of continuous glucose monitors? What about time in range and the hemoglobin A1C? What are the pros and cons of these two things? What's the psychology of a continuous glucose monitor? And where might we be going next? So if we begin with, at the moment, as a GP, these are my rules. I'm only allowed, according to the guidelines, to give people with type 2 diabetes a continuous glucose monitor if they're on multiple daily injections of insulin and some of those other things apply. So it's actually quite a small number of patients. There are some extra rules and flexibility for those people who maybe can't use finger prick devices, so that gives me a little bit of leeway. So those are the guidelines, the rules. You've heard me say before that the hemoglobin A1C, it's been talked about a lot this morning, is the average sugariness of the blood, and that's what most GPs, most doctors are using at the moment to give you your results, the hemoglobin A1C. The principle is that sugary blood is damaging the lining of your blood vessels, and in fact it happens rapidly. And this, in a way, is what lies behind the idea of time in range is important. Because we have a non-stick lining of our arteries, the glycocalyx, and there's evidence that within 6 hours of a raised blood sugar, the glycocalyx is damaged. So I find that that's really important and would tend to support the idea of using a continuous glucose monitor, because the hemoglobin A1C is the average over 3 months. And one of the problems with an average is it's just that. So 4 times 40, the average is 40. So that average pretty well represents the result that that patient had. But look at that. The average of that is 40 as well. So you've got potentially an incredibly low result there and an incredibly high one. And that's the problem of using averages. And here's another problem. That is, again, the hemoglobin A1C of one of my patients who was on insulin and has now come off insulin. And the result there, 29. That is actually very bad news. So a low hemoglobin A1C is supposed to be a good result, isn't it? But that's bad news because that person had a lymphoma, a form of cancer, and she was actually anemic. So you're seeing there another drawback to the hemoglobin A1C that we've put so much trust in. So the limitations of the hemoglobin A1C, because it's an average, it gives no idea of hypoglycemia or glucose variability. There are accuracy problems because of anemia, pregnancy, and there are some race differences. Now, the hemoglobin A1C is good for some things. It's very good for audit if you're wanting to say, how is my practice doing? What's the average improvement in hemoglobin A1C? It's a really useful marker for audit and research. But if you're wanting to individualize care, maybe the continuous glucose monitors are better. We've been using the continuous glucose monitors for people in type 1 diabetes for a while. And there's really good quality evidence to say that the bad effects of having poorly controlled diabetes are reduced dramatically by improved time in range. So you're seeing there all of the various things that can go wrong in type 1 diabetes stratified according to time in range. And for every single downside there of diabetes, the more you are time in range, the safer you are. So that's very, very important. This is a bit broader because we're now beginning to include type 2 diabetes. Interestingly, for both type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, wearing a continuous glucose monitor significantly improves the hemoglobin A1C. So we get there a win-win. Just concentrating on type 2 diabetes, continuous glucose monitors reduce hyperglycemia and hospital admissions for people with type 2 diabetes. So that's good evidence that more people could benefit from using a continuous glucose monitor. Because hospitalizations cost a great deal of money. So we could make some savings there. This is one of my patients. And on the right, you can see where I introduced the continuous glucose monitor. The hemoglobin A1C was very high at 102 and comes down to 57, which is a very good result. The reason I've put that on there is look at the other improvements in liver function. Triglyceride, we don't talk nearly enough about triglyceride, but look how that improved. And the cholesterol HDL ratio, all improved. And on top of that, that person reduced their insulin use for type 2 diabetes by 50%, and I was able to stop amlodipine. So for that person with type 2 diabetes using insulin, the continuous glucose monitor really delivered. I'm just going to quickly canter you through some of the functionality of a Freestyle Libre. So this is when you come into my surgery and you've got one, on your phone, you've got all of this information. So the daily graphs. In every clinic I do, I'm searching for where did the sugar come from? Like a rat up a drain pipe. I want to know, where is that sugar? What that spike? What did you eat then? What did you eat then? And so the daily graphs are great for that. Time in range, we've just said that's really important. It's very useful. And of course, you can know what that was at the beginning and later on. The average glucose, also useful, and you can look, that's through the day, so you can look for patterns. And there is a simplified daily pattern so that you can find for patients when is the problem? You have a problem at tea time or an average problem at lunchtime. What's going on? Low glucose events. This is a rough estimate of hemoglobin A1C. And that's very useful for me in clinic because people know what the hemoglobin A1C was before, and now they know what it is, and they're encouraged to do more of it. Sensor usage is a really interesting one. Some people really love the Freestyle Libre, and you can see they're using it all the time. Some people don't like the Freestyle Libre, and I have to tell you, carbohydrate addicts don't like the Freestyle Libre. And the number of times I find that people come and they say, oh, I forgot my phone. Whoever forgets their mobile phone? And I see that, it's really specific, they forgot their phone. or it's fallen off. I only had it on for a day and it fell off. Now, they do fall off, actually. That is true. But, you know, if it requires some sensitivity, because if your client or patient is a carbohydrate addict, this is not necessarily helpful for that person, and they don't want to know. They do not want to know. Jen, my wife, clever, clinical psychologist, right there. Hello, Jen. Hello. Psychology is really important, and one of the things that Jen would teach us all is that the sooner the feedback comes after the behavior, the faster you make those links. So a hemoglobin A1C, I ate something 2 months ago. Do I even remember? Do I care? Does anybody know? But the Freestyle Libre, one of the things that's so powerful about it is that feedback is instant. You get that spike. What was it? That's what's special about the Freestyle Libre or all of the continuous glucose monitors. It also helps people individualize their diet. So, you know, we can give people diet sheets and so on, but each of us has different beliefs, a different budget, different foods we enjoy. So a continuous glucose monitor gives you feedback so that you can individualize the diet to optimize your time in range, and that's really special. Oh, going beyond the guidelines. It's like naughty, isn't it? Really, are we going to be naughty and go beyond? Because they're guidelines, they're not rules that must be obeyed. And that, I was like scared to go I'm going beyond the guidelines. So we're all going to go beyond the guidelines now and do a little bit of a risky type of naughty thing. There. So hemoglobin A1C, the average sugariness, and that lady, against the rules, I gave her, it was a Freestyle Libre, and she's achieved the best diabetic control for 10 years. 10 years. So I've done a naughty thing, but she's doing rather well, the best all that time. And these are all, she's learned so many lessons, so she made a list for me and for you. So these are the lessons. Milk, bananas, breaded chicken. She was really surprised. She said, it was just chicken. And we went into it. That spike isn't just chicken. She said, actually, it was breaded. Yeah, there you go. Tinned soup was a great surprise for her. Boiled carrots, and so on and so forth. So she's individualizing it for that person. She found it really, really useful. And this enables us to talk about foods, not macros. So my patients don't always know, carbs, they don't know, but they do know about foods. So it helps you discuss foods, not carbs, protein, and fats, which doesn't always mean a lot to people. Somebody else. This person said to me the benefit for her, again, a significant improvement, was she said, it's like having a policeman on my arm. Please, can I keep this? Because I really like the fact that it's keeping me good and I'm not going to cheat. Oh yeah, this is somebody with type 2 diabetes, and as you all know, bananas, dangerous. And the blood sugar goes up. There's a chicken butter curry for that same person with type 2 diabetes. Nothing happens. Nothing happens to the blood sugar. So can't we just eat nutrient-dense food that doesn't put up blood sugar? That's the result. Well, I used to recommend fruit and fibre as the healthy breakfast that we should... Healthy whole grain. The healthy whole grain breakfast. And that's what happens. What's interesting in the breakfast on the right is there are more calories there. So it's not about calories, because the blood sugar is absolutely rock solid. Eat food, it doesn't have to put your blood sugar up. So useful. And as part of a grassroots revolution, that's simple. It's so easy for people to understand. You don't want a high blood sugar, don't eat stuff that puts your blood sugar up. There you go. I get flown all over the world, you know, just to say it. What about costing? So this is another person. This person has achieved drug-free type 2 diabetes remission. I supplied a single Freestyle Libre and it cost the NHS £35. An SGLT2 inhibitor would cost £36 per month indefinitely. So this is why I don't think they'll lock me away for using these, because I'm actually saving money. That person, rice cakes, they're a problem. They don't weigh much, so people think, oh, it's only a rice cake. I'll just do that. The Freestyle Libre sees the lie. Again, a single CGM was given in January 2023, and again, this person was tomato soup, Shreddies, the healthy wholemeal breakfast again. Food's not macros. The new kid on the block at the moment is time in tight range. Because in a way, I've often said that to somebody with type 2 diabetes, sugar is a metabolic poison. So how poisoned do you want to be? Medium poisoned? Little bit poisoned? So time in tight range heads towards a normal range, not poisoned, and that makes sense to me, and there's more research coming out on time in tight range. What about continuous glucose monitors for people who don't have type 2 diabetes? So here's a paper, and they're saying that glucose spikes are associated with greater hunger and poorer mental health and sleep. Glucose spikes are associated with greater mortality risk from cardiovascular disease. It sounds very good, but then I thought I need to read that paper carefully, and I've got to confess, all the authors were Abbott employees. So it's kind of a bit embarrassing because they're the ones that make the Freestyle Libre. So maybe that isn't the best paper. But how about this one? Let's see if we can do better. This was good. This is a randomized controlled trial in Malaysia of overweight young adults, randomized to, obviously they're going to have a continuous glucose monitor, or they don't. What's interesting is there was very significant reductions in carbohydrate consumption with a continuous glucose monitor and significant weight loss. So I'm not actually sure that I know what the place for a continuous glucose monitor is in the general public. I think I'm exploring. I don't know, but if you're curious, it is interesting. It's really exciting. Abbott announced in 2022 they're going to bring out continuous glucose monitors for glucose and ketones. Won't that be really super interesting? I can't wait to get one of those. Finally, let's end with a case. This is Dan. A lovely graph. Look, hemoglobin A1C, 95, sky high, come down to 37. The truth, oh yeah, is that right? Yeah. You may clap, you may. Yeah. The point is, when I stood here last year, I'd done, I think, 128. I've been busy since I saw you last, and now we're up to 141, and it's 24% of all the diabetics in my NHS practice. 24, nearly a quarter of all of them are now in remission. The important thing is that we started him off with a Libre a couple of years ago. It was one of my cheat cases, so it's an illustration. And look how he's gone on for you. His problem was bread, rice, and potatoes. And finally, some hope. A possible conflict of interest was that for 2 years I advised a big insurance company in North America. And for their people with type 2 diabetes, if you would wear a Freestyle Libre, you could have your life insurance for hundreds of dollars per month cheaper. Wow. So think about that. And insurance companies all over the world are waking up to this. This is the kind of thing that Verta are doing. And this is why this is so exciting and why it's going to push it on rapidly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.